Hello everyone, I have decided to try and do a new video based on my further thoughts about the infamous Orange and Go reboot. But first things first, I was just looking on Google, then on Google News. Now that's a beautiful image right there. Just look at his little face. So yeah, as much as I am fine with the Orange and Go series being a thing, I can't deny I have a few problems with it, mainly in terms of how things are structured and story wise and characters and whatnot. First up, I want to give mention towards Diesel, who is a character I rarely mentioned in the last one. So, in the show, Diesel is no longer an antagonist character and was made to be Thomas's best friend. I don't hate the idea of Diesel becoming more reformed, but if you're going to make Diesel a more reformed character, could you at least keep him somewhat antagonistic? That's basically what makes Diesel such a good character, is the fact he's a pretty good antagonist. I don't hate how the CGI series did him, but obviously, I just like how he is in the classic series, where he's kind of basically the antagonist, not counting Diesel 10. Still, I feel like if Orange and Skull was to try and do something with Diesel, at least keep him antagonistic. Because him being a friend of Thomas, just flat out, is just bad. By the way, season 8 is a pretty good season. I mean, out of all the hit entertainment seasons, we can all be honest that season 8 was probably the most likable, I think. Something else I'd like to mention is Kana. Characters like Kana and Sandy and all, and I don't know, other new characters like Griff and Jiff and whatnot, the new characters are just thrown in seemingly out of nowhere because do you recognize these characters? Oh, you don't? Well, you're going to, and you don't have a choice in the matter. I don't hate the idea of Kana being a high speed electric engine and whatnot. I think she's fine like that, but still, I feel like the way they include her within the series is just lazy. Like a lot of other like a lot of other characters within the series. If she had a proper introduction, maybe we could have liked her more if there was some form of introduction. But oh my god, Mattel is just like, nope, we're not gonna write any new stories for these characters to introduce them. Why would we ever do that? We are lazy and greedy people who want to market the series. Hooray! What annoys me even more about the new characters being introduced without proper introduction, this isn't even the first time Mattel's done something like this. They did this also with Bob the Builder. When they rebooted it back in 2015, they just made it lazy and crap. With all the new characters introduced, such as freaking Two-Ton or Leo or whatever, in Bob the Builder, they just appear out of nowhere and they're like, well, they're members of a crew, they better get used to it. And then again, they did flanderize most of the characters, especially my boy Rolly. Why'd you do that? So, take some notes, Mattel. With this new project of yours for Thomas and Friends coming 2026, at least bother with trying to make. If you're going to have new characters introduced alongside, please at least introduce them in a fair manner. Okay, next problem with Orange and Go. How they handled returning characters. For some reason in Orange and Go, they brought back characters such as Edward Henry and Duck, and they did literally nothing. Edward and Henry and Duck were there just to try and make old fans like the new series. And that is not how you do it, Mattel. If you're wanting people to like your reboot, at least give them a proper, valid reason why they should. Okay, unrelated and all, but this is Orange and Go related. Look at this milk tanker custom. Actually, isn't half bad. Mattel, if you're wanting older fans to like Origins Go, just don't try and fix the series to make it more like a genuinely decent show for younger audiences and older audiences to enjoy. And also, can I just talk about why Duck is so inconsistent? I want to give credit to Aiden the Helicopter 2355 for this pretty good looking artwork of Old Duck, based on this diecast model. This is something we could have seen in the show, but for some reason Mattel decided to give us this. Mattel, I have some questions I want to ask you. Duck's push-along design made him look kind of more official looking, and for some reason in the show they decided to ignore this. This is like a backwards Salty situation. For those who need context, Salty originally looked like this, with yellow wheels and slightly different color changes. But they redesigned him with black wheels for when he would appear in the show. So in the images we saw, that was his prototype design. I want to say this is the same problem for Duck. But for some reason, if you look at this image of Duck, you can tell he doesn't have a black rim around his face. His eyes are yellow, and you can just make out a hint of yellow on his wheel. Somehow this looks more official than what the show depicted him as. The fact that this is a thing is just confusing me. And of course, how Edward and Henry will look at an Origins Go was obviously really, personally, it was bad. I remember people trying to be all hyped up over the fact they could possibly speak. Well, no, they did not. I mean, Edward is probably took the brunt of it the worst of the designs being changed much worse than Henry did. Because look at how they massacred my boy, bro. He's a 660 now. Are you kidding me? And how for some reason is Edward the only blue engine to not have blue eyes? And also, is his dome just scorching from his cab? I'm not saying Henry's design is better than Edward's, but at least it looks at least slightly better. At least they didn't massacre him as badly. They massacred them equally badly. Let's say that. I remember people getting hyped up over the fact they could possibly speak in the series, but nope, never happened. Womp womp. Also, why has Henry got a yellow dome? Is that because he swapped the palette for Percy? I just realized Henry Pog. Look at his mouth. Henry Pog. Now, in terms of story writing, the series is so generic. It literally feels as bland as Paw Patrol. And for a TV show that's been running since freaking 1984, that is saying something. I mean, within the stories, there's no real conflict to kind of make the story more interesting. Now, call me crazy for this random ass example, but somehow, Barney's Great Adventure from 1998 somehow actually had some form of antagonist. And to an extent, the only antagonist within Barney the Dinosaur's cinematic universe. By the way, I actually have not seen the movie, I've only seen Tom Scar and Friends' video about it, which is really goated. Go watch it. Back to Funny Blue Train, the stories are just bland and generic and don't even have real substance to them. And the inclusion of music videos in like half the series offends me because it just makes them sound like toddler shows. Which, let's be honest, this was meant to be a toddler show, there's no real denying it. I mean, where are the antagonists? Where's the proper storylines? Where are the big obstacles they need to conquer just so they can do the story? Where is Diesel 10? By the way, I modified him with a claw, so he's like talking actually lethal 10, but normal. I am so annoyed. I just want to punch Mattel in the face, or just, grab their hands and give them a good handshake, like a really firm grasp of a handshake, just to indicate that I'm offended with how the show is kind of done. I am just really upset about Orange and Go and how they are kind of done. Now, I don't. I'm really mixed about the show. I like it, but I don't like it at the same time. I also just saw this random edit. Basically, it's just Thomas punching an Orange and Go version of Soda Productions. I do like the Mattel Confidential Do Not Distribute thing. That was actually a pretty good detail to add, but it's not real, obviously, but she's spreading music, whimsy, and fun everywhere. Yep, sounds like Soda Productions, alright. Yep, Soda Productions, you're a clown. A big, fat, stinking clown. And before you lot try and go into the comments to defend him, just shut up. He literally called Wilbert Audrey's freaking granddaughter something that I should not say. I'm not saying on YouTube because it's inappropriate. And also, need I mention, literally posting out the N word and himself and doxing himself. This is why I find people who attempt to defend his claims to be as big of a clown as him. Oh, and by the way, Mr. Soda Productions, sorry to burst your bubble. Owning Colin's prop does not make you cool. Colin did next to nothing, and I really could not care less about him. So stop acting like you're the king and go for that makeshift high throne of yours and shut up. Back into Orange and Go, the stories just really isn't that good because the stories feel bland and lifeless, and the inclusion of music videos in a good chunk of them just doesn't work. One good thing about Orange and Go is Whiff. I like how he was handled. Being some form of a tech whiz and all that, Whiff was handled pretty good in Orange and Go. And his diecast model is also Ruddy Peak. I love it. But still, that doesn't excuse the show for having really crappy sort of stuff. One more thing to talk about is Bruno. Now, I feel like Bruno is cool in a way because he is like the first confirmed character to have autism. Though that doesn't automatically make it good. I find this to be kind of Mattel's saying, oh, we are inclusive towards autistic people. Stop hating on our show. And by the way, if you're going to attempt to use, oh, it's just a kid's show, you shouldn't really need to be that concerned over something that is just a watered down toddler show. Do you know the amount of people who grew up with Thomas just to see the Mattel just make it into a marketing scheme? Do you know how many used to watch the show thinking, oh, I want to be like the fucking controller so I can tell people what to do? That sounds like Emily from season 8. The hell am I on about? But still, I think Bruno really could work within Classic Thomas if you just made him more shy. Because I feel like using the term autistic in the classic series feels a little wrong, or at least something I feel like they wouldn't have done. At least. It would be something more like Big Adventures, as crappy of a rebrand as it is. By the way, if you're looking, and also, I don't know if this is true or not, but I've heard that Bruno was just made as some marketing propaganda for Mattel to say, we are inclusive towards the autistic community. Even if they literally denied having autistic friendly hours at Thomasland. You know, the one at Drayton Manor. The one where Thomas really comes to life. Enjoy that reference, people. No. Anyway. I don't hate Orange and Go, but I'm not saying I am a huge fan either. I mean, their diecast models can be really good, especially Edward. Chef's kiss. But still, I just find Mattel to be getting weaker and weaker with the ideas of Thomas and Friends. Let's hope they can at least try to cook up something for this new idea of theirs for 2026. Am I the only one who feels a little confused why Edward never got a motorized model? I mean, they were capable of making him, so why didn't they just, make a motorized model? Is it to market Donald? Because why bother if he didn't even appear in the show? By the way, the Tugs gal, I want to give you some credit for this pretty good looking photoshopped Edward. It's gonna hit those trains! I still don't know why they bothered trying to make Thomas say that. I mean, as far as I'm aware, they weren't going to bring Henry and Edward back. But since they needed some form of trains to fill out the scene where during Jargon Run, they decided to just bring them back, but didn't ask freaking who was his name? I forgot who he was. Didn't ask Thomas's voice actors to just change to redo their lines to say Henry and Edward, or even reanimate the scene. And why bother including Henry and Edward if you're gonna do nothing with them? So overall, I feel like the show's been hitting a low point at the moment. Let's hope whatever they are cooking for, they're trying to cook for Thomas's proper 80th next year. Let's just hope it'll be good. For those who don't know what I mean by Thomas's proper 80th, this year was the 80th anniversary for Edward, Gordon, and Henry. Thomas didn't appear until 1946. Then that's when we can call Thomas Thomas 80 years old. Or maybe 111 years old next year if you're counting the build date of his real life basis. You get the point. So people, I just want to say I hope you lot have found this video to be at least somewhat enjoyable. Sorry if I constantly rant about a lot of random things that shouldn't really be that big of a deal. But for me, I've never bothered trying to write scripts for videos, which is why they are pretty notoriously, stupid. So, I just want to say sorry for all that, and if you found this video to be enjoyable, which I would be really impressed if you did find them enjoyable to some extent, I hope you will have a good day, and I will see you lot next time. Goodbye. A new custom video will be coming soon. But for now, have a good day, everyone.